China are also adopting very different approaches to adopting AI. The big US companies mostly favor massive, proprietary, quote, closed weights models, end quote, such as ChatGPT and Gemini, which may be best suited to achieving generalizable intelligence. By contrast, Chinese AI companies favor smaller, cheaper, and arguably less safe open weight models, such as DeepSeek and Alibaba's Qwen, that can be more readily adapted by developers. In part, China is making a virtue of necessity because U.S. export restrictions have denied it access to the state-of-the-art silicon chips needed to build the most powerful foundation models, but it also reflects China's priority in rapidly diffusing the technology. So in other words, if you can get what you're getting, like 80% of it from ChatGPT, Gemini, Anthropic, all this other shit, if you can get it for free or for very cheap from a Chinese company, why the fuck would you buy these really cumbersome, expensive models developed by U.S. firms that want to make back all this debt and make back all this spending by jacking up these subscription charges and jacking up the ad rates for what the models that they're going to build and that they're going to have to do with this? So this means that the value, the intrinsic value, like in the capitalist liberal sense, the value of the technology being produced and distributed, if the moat, this is the word they like to use in tech, if the moat doesn't exist and you have competitors who are giving away a product for free, that means you're going to fuck all these companies and all the spending and fuck their ability to pay back the debt. Now, the last thing I'll just say on that is, beyond the irony of the tanky Chinese government, why is China doing this? How is China doing this, right? This is a whole nother show. But part of this is, it's not just like China subsidizing these companies because it's communist and it's like doing the same thing with AI that it did with automobiles and did with solar panels and all these other technologies that are subsidized by this central state capitalist communist government that allows those industries to produce at a loss because it's communist and because they don't have the same kind of market capitalist system we do. But it's also because China is trying, politically speaking and militarily speaking, to significantly weaken the United States, which is why we have the high wall, short fence sanctions thing over whether or not these silicon chips can even fucking get to China, which, as a reminder, started with Biden, not with Trump.
So-called state competition breeds innovation in this case.
But also, if China can melt down the U.S. economy, which is strapped to AI, and then as the United States goes into recession and depression and is trying to like pick up the pieces and is busy deciding which one of these companies that's going to bail out 2008 style, isn't that an invitation for China to assert itself in the Pacific? Isn't that an invitation for China to turn to countries like India and Brazil, much less Germany or France, and say, hey, your big stupid friend over there in North America looks like, he's being gutted out. We're the future, not them. Don't you want to sign a trade agreement with us? Don't you want to take it easy on us when we, for instance, produce a gray zone military theater around Taiwan? Aren't we the future and not them? So in other words, like this is a great power competition. Yeah. And unlike the Soviet Union, which produced basic bullshit, sorry, tankies. And also I know there were some sectors like space where there was true innovation, but I'm talking about late Soviet Union, like 1968 and after Soviet Union, 1980 Soviet Union. That is not the China of today. China is dominating in research. China is dominating in academic articles that are published. Chinese universities are now the top 10 universities in the world. Only Harvard gets in there. China is winning the 21st century. In that context, this is the very first time that I would say, up to this point, I have not believed any narratives of like U.S. relative decline. Relative to what? This is a moment, 2025, where the possibility of me beginning to actually entertain like late U.S. empire is hitting my head. Yeah. And the only thing that stops me from just doing bumper sticker sloganeering thought about this is that China is indebted up to its eyeballs as well. And so you have two like heavyweight boxers, like 10 rounds in, they're both like bleeding out of both eyes. All their lips are swollen up. They've both taken all these punches. So in other words, it's not like China's sitting there like in the third round, ready to take a knockout punch, and the United States is just like a dumpy, stupid boxer who's like, I can't even get up. No, they're both actually fried. And so in the weird way, they're both subsidizing all this AI bullshit, and they're both trying to be the last dude standing at the end of the ring so that the ref can hold up like a limp arm and be like, this guy won. So in other words, it's not like China's strong, United States is weak. They're both wounded.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna be a real tight margin. And so whatever decline we're talking about, it's a thin margin for understanding it, and it's gonna be real.